Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison.
Hi, this is William Shatner.
It is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
What's up, everybody? The Vegas Take back at you on a Wednesday morning. I am so used to saying Wednesday night. It's kind of nice waking up early in the morning doing a little bit of radio. It's a lot of fun. It's been some years before I work these kind of hours, but I do like them, JD. We have a lot to get to today, a lot to go over, as we always do every day. And just to run down some of the guests we're going to have on the show today, you might have heard this guy on KDWN.
By the way, I don't believe that you actually like these hours. I think that you're just saying that.
Thank you for interrupting
Absolutely.
me, by the way. Now I know what it feels like. Thank you. I was introducing our guests before you just rudely decided to talk over me. Just so rude. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Pat Cassell is going to be joining us coming up here in just a few minutes. He's on the right, so we'll probably get into it a little bit. He's more on JD's side. And then coming up in hour number 3, we got attorney coming in studio, Sandy Van from the Sandy Van Law Firm, one of the best attorneys in town. Boy, I have a lot of questions for her, a lot of stuff to get to with her. But obviously the big news this week, the big news over the weekend was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein.
One of those was right, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Epstein. I don't know why I called him Epstein. Committing suicide, allegedly. And I'm going to say allegedly because, I have a lot of questions. I certainly know a lot of Republicans do. But one of his accusers is now speaking out. Name is Jennifer Arouse. I hope I'm not completely destroying her last name. I would assume that's how you pronounce her last name, Jennifer Arouse. She filed a lawsuit against his estate and also his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, in 3 unnamed female household staff members. This is a big deal. The complaint that was filed today alleges Maxwell and the other staffers conspired with each other to make it possible and otherwise facilitate the sexual abuse and rape of the plaintiff. To me, if you're an enabler and you help somebody commit an atrocity and horrible crimes that we all believe that Epstein committed, yeah, you should be prosecuted. There's no doubt in my mind. We've seen this in a lot of other cases as well. And I hope they win. But I want to give you the latest. So this is Stephanie Gosk. She does a great job for NBC News. This was breaking news this morning. So this is Stephanie Gosk giving us a little bit of background on what's going on with this Epstein thing.
Big question all along was, what were the victims going to be able to do once Epstein took his life? What was going to be their legal recourse? And now we know that Jennifer Rose, the accuser who you interviewed and sat down with, who says Jeffrey Epstein raped her as a teenager, she has now filed a lawsuit that names his close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, Rose says that she never met Maxwell. And as we know, they had a relationship. She had a relationship with Epstein for decades. They were close friends.
Ghislaine Maxwell
did. She is allegedly an enabler to what has been called this sex trafficking ring of underage girls. It is essentially an expanded lawsuit. It also includes 3 unnamed employees. And you may remember the indictment against Jeffrey Epstein had 3 unnamed employees as part of it. This will be, I think, a model for some of these accusers going forward in how to take legal action against Jeffrey Epstein's estate.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thinking a little bit about the R. Kelly case. And if you recall, there's a lot of enablers around R. Kelly that helped him sexually abuse young girls. And a lot of people have felt over the years that the people that have worked for R. Kelly deserve to go to jail, deserve to be held accountable for that. See, to me, this is a very similar circumstance. There had to be people around Epstein that were enablers. So we're going to talk about this victim here, Jennifer Arouse. She said today to reporters, "Today's my first step towards reclaiming my power." She also went on to say Epstein and his network of enablers stole from me. They robbed me of my youth, my identity, my innocence, my self-worth. For too long, they escaped accountability. I am here today because I intend to change that. Her attorney is Dan Kaiser, went on to say the pursuit of justice doesn't end. It begins now. He said the adult enablers around Epstein made his client's abuse possible. Now, I have to imagine, JD, that, hypothetically, you're sexually abused by someone. Do you want that person to commit suicide behind bars? I mean, I think there's certain situations where I say, and by the way, I am for the death penalty. I've always been for the death penalty. But let's just say Paddock, the guy who killed, 60 people in Las Vegas. After he went to trial, assuming that he didn't kill himself, what do you say to a guy like that? Do you want a guy to get the now the death penalty wouldn't have happened here, I don't think, but do you want somebody like that to death penalty, or do you say to yourself, well, I'd rather have that person spend the rest of their life behind bars? I think with these victims in the Epstein case, they wanted to face him in court. They wanted him to face the music.
They wanted to get a chance to do what Bill Cosby's victims did.
Right, exactly. So it's a difficult, but I don't think there's one of these accusers, one of these victims that wanted Epstein to kill himself behind bars. And again, I'm not so sure that he did kill himself. I don't know.
Killing yourself is an easy way out. This guy deserved to be castrated.
Well, we all know that would have never happened.
And thrown in jail for the rest of his life.
Well, yeah,
in solitary confinement.
Listen, if you had it my way, I would have, nail the guy to a wall and have his victims throw stones at him until he dies.
There's so many, horrendous ways you can treat this guy.
Do you think?
But the question is, you mentioned enablers. Jeffrey Epstein, his fortune comes from Bear Stearns. He was a hedge fund guy. He was a financial sector guy in New York City. So how is this guy identifying all these different victims while he's running a hedge fund, a very successful hedge fund like he was? Clearly, he had help.
Yeah.
You can't just run a pedophile ring with 12 to 18-year-old girls or 16-year-old girls, whatever the number is.
I don't have experience.
Just by yourself. He obviously had people help him to identify these women and engage in conversations with them and get in touch with them and then bring them via airplane to this pedophile island. I mean that's a whole almost organization. That's almost a business. And I think there's a chance that part of his worth, his net worth, was getting larger because he was getting paid from other people. I'm not saying that Bill Clinton could be one of these people, but someone along those lines to bring these women.
Obviously, he has a lot of dirt, and he has known a lot of other powerful people. You want to call them enablers, people that have engaged in this horrible, horrible stuff that he engaged in. We'll probably never find out the truth. I would imagine a lot of that stuff would have come out in court. We're not going to find that out now. But I find this story to be very, very troubling from the standpoint of how he died. Was it suicide? So on and so forth. So this is a story that's coming out that I think a lot of people are going to have trouble with. And here's what I'm talking about here. So investigators are now looking into whether two guards, their only job basically was watching Jeffrey Epstein, and now we're learning that there is a chance that they might have been sleeping on the job. How the hell does that happen? You got arguably one of the highest profile people in your jail, certainly at that time. He was just on suicide watch. Your only job is basically to watch him. And you're telling me there's a chance that these two guards might have been sleeping? I'm sorry, I am not buying this. Something doesn't add up. Something doesn't make sense. Two officials that are close to this investigation told NBC News this last night. The warden of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan has been temporarily reassigned, and the two guards have been placed on leave after Epstein died of this apparent suicide. Something does not add up here. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there with conspiracy theories. Here's what I think happened. I believe that he did commit suicide, but I also believe that there were people inside that jail that knew he was going to do that, and they allowed it to happen. Now, why did they allow it to happen? Well, you can come up with your own conclusions. I don't know. Do I have proof that this happened? No, absolutely not. But I am going by everything that we are hearing. You have a high-profile person in your jail cell, and you're telling me there's a chance? There's an actual chance that the guards were sleeping? The warden has been reassigned. These two people that were supposed to be watching Epstein have been placed on leave. This guy was a billionaire. He had dirt on everybody. I want to open up the phone lines. Let me just open up the phone lines on this. What do you guys think happened to Epstein? Now that you hear more of this evidence coming out, that there's a chance that these two guards were sleeping. This is just getting weirder and weirder, folks. What do you think happened? Do you think this was a quote-unquote inside job? Do you have conspiracy theories? Or do you think there's a good chance that everybody's telling the truth and that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide? The number to call if you want to be a part of the show, 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part, give us a buzz at the GCI hotline, GCI Guys hotline, which is 257-5396. JD, what do you say to all this?
Well, there was supposed to be 15 a check on someone who's on suicide watch, like Jeffrey Epstein was, considering what happened, a couple of days before he quote unquote committed suicide. There was supposed to be a cycle where he's checked on every 15 minutes. My question is, why wasn't there just a camera in his cell?
Are they allowed? I don't know. Are they allowed to do that?
I would assume so. For someone that high profile who's on suicide watch.
Well, he wasn't on suicide watch when he killed himself.
Absolutely.
No, my understanding is he wasn't. He was on suicide watch for 72 hours, and then he was lifted off, which I also find to be extremely bizarre and weird. But the fact that these two guards were most likely sleeping, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. Let me put this in perspective real quick. You have arguably the most high, the guy that is in the news across the world. Everybody knows he's in your jail facility. It is the biggest news story, or arguably one of the biggest news stories in the news cycle. You have two guards that are responsible for watching this guy, whether it's suicide watch or not. You have two guys are responsible for watching this guy. And you're telling me a story comes out this morning that there is a possibility that these two guards might have been sleeping? You have to be kidding me. Now, look, I don't think it is the job of Donald Trump and the President of the United States to come up with conspiracy theories. It's not his job to do that. I say the same thing when it came to Barack Obama when he started commenting on the Zimmerman case, and then he commented on Ferguson. And we still have people in the Democratic Party that are talking about Ferguson, calling that police officer a murderer in the Michael Brown situation, which is unbelievably irresponsible. But I think Donald Trump is doing the exact same thing in the Epstein case. Now, look, it's our job to come up with hypotheticals, right? It's not the president's job to do that. Donald Trump should not be doing that. He should not be commenting on this case. By the way, Donald Trump also used to hang out with this guy Epstein. So let's just not, for all of you Republicans out there that want to go after the Clintons and say, oh, it's an inside job. The Clintons did a hit job. And you want to go after all these Democrats. Donald Trump used to hang out with this guy all the time. Donald Trump said he enjoyed the fact that this guy liked young women. He has a quote out about that. So don't you give me this stuff that this is all about the Democrats and it's an inside job.
He didn't say he enjoyed the fact. He said he made the statement that he likes young women and he likes women in general more than he does.
Yeah.
Is basically what he said.
Well, still, the guy used to hang out with him, used to be friends with him.
He certainly didn't celebrate the fact that he likes young women.
It's certainly, by the quote that I saw, it certainly looked like he did. He was admiring this guy Epstein. The point I'm trying to make is Donald Trump is just as involved in this, in my opinion, as anybody else. So stop with the conspiracy theories that the Clintons were involved in this. I've heard some whack jobs put out some really, really weird stuff. It's bizarre. All right, we'll go to the GCI Guys hotline, and if you want to be a part of this conversation, what do you think happened to Epstein? What do you think about this latest story about these two guards that might have been sleeping when Epstein allegedly committed suicide? What do you think about this victim that has come out and now speaking to the media following lawsuits against his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell? I hope they get every single dollar from his associates. I don't care who. Get every single dollar from this guy. I don't want anyone in his immediate family. I don't want any of his close friends getting $1. I hope it goes to all the victims. The number to call, GCI Guys Hotline, if you want to be a part of this conversation, 257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Marge. Marge, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's up, Marge?
Good morning. By the way, I'm having withdrawals because you're not on from 6 to 8 anymore.
Well, you know what? If you have withdrawals, the best thing to do is to do what you're doing and listen to us 9 a.m. to noon.
I agree. And I'm multitasking because I'm trying to work and listen to it at the same time.
I'm a very bad multitasker. I'm glad you're better than I. Thank you.
As far as Ms. Maxwell is concerned, she's been accused by others of being his chief enabler, too.
Right.
So this could be a defensive move on her part, who's to say. I think that if they start having all of these lawsuits, I think things will come out. I know that they did take a tape, I guess, out of his vault. I would be curious to know if somehow that tape got lost, whatever was extracted from the vault from his home, just conveniently or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think was in that vault?
Yeah, that would definitely be par for the course.
Yeah, I wonder what was in that vault. I bet you there were dirt on a lot of. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Avenatti said it best. You don't keep your porn in a safe.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I can't even imagine how many powerful people and names could have been in that vault that could have taken down a number of people. That's what I think was in there.
Well, or there could be big payments too,
Yeah.
For going to that island or what? Who knows?
Exactly.
It's just very, very bad. But as far as the one thing that confuses me, I thought at one point that they said that he was taken off of suicide watch.
Mm-hmm.
He escaped it. So I it's very confusing right now as far as these guards are concerned. And some of them had said that they were just overworked and were exhausted, which that may be true.
And that may be true. But how does the warden allow that to happen?
Exactly.
How do you get in that situation? You have a high Listen, this would be bad if this was just anybody, but you have Epstein in there, one of the highest profile. Yeah, it just I agree, Marge, 100%. It's suspicious to say the least.
And there was a person in his jail also because they doubled him up for that purpose.
Right.
He was removed, I think, the day before or something like that.
Yeah, this raises a lot of eyebrows. Well, listen, I hate to take the side of Barr, Attorney General, in this situation, but I do think that Barr is going to get down to business here and going to find out. This is one situation where I do support what he's doing, whether it's political, whether it's political motivation or not. We got to find out what happened. Marge, it's really good to hear from you. Thank you for multitasking.
Okay.
All right,
thanks for the call, Marge.
Have a good one. Number to call again, 257-5396. If you want to be a part of the program, let's go to Jay. Jay, what's going on?
What's up, Jay?
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Doing
great,
good, my man. What's on your mind?
Hey, I believe it was an inside job. I really do. Two officers sleep. Come on, somebody got to be responsible. At least it should be at least one officer at least responsible not to fall asleep. It sounds fishy to me too.
Yeah, I mean, you put it all together, Jay. I agree with you. You have a guy that is worth billions of dollars. You have a guy that has associated himself with all these young women and sexually abused them for years. He's hung out with other very powerful people. There is a lot of dirt that we don't know that Epstein certainly knew. And if he was still alive, I believe some of that stuff would have come out.
And if this guy has what we think he has, why would you not put your absolute best?
Yeah.
Right.
Watching
exactly. Him. Exactly. Yeah, two guys sleep. That's fishy.
Right,
and
both
also,
of them.
I want to give you guys kudos to, a lot of times with the politics, Donald Trump knew this guy and everything like that, and we need to step up as Americans. And, hey, when it's wrong, it's wrong. We treat politics like little league baseball team. Everybody wants their team to win. But
you're
we have
so
to,
right.
Step our morals up and say, hey, this guy was associated with Trump, and and also like with Barack Obama. We need to start, stepping up and say, hey, this is wrong. Don't throw dirt on the other guy because he was part of a party.
Jay,
we need to start stepping up.
Jay, you are so right. Thank you, Jay. You are so right. You know what I talk about all the time on this show? I look at Democrats and Republicans like you're a Lakers fan and a Celtics fan. You know, all people care about is what's good for their party and not what's good for the country.
Exactly.
And all the media cares about is what's good for them. They love a divisive America.
Exactly.
They love the Democrats being, you know, all the Democrats watching CNN and all the Republicans watching Fox News, because that is great for ratings, which is great for revenue.
But in regards,
and as Americans, we're all losing because we're treating it like it's a little league baseball team. You know, when a politician, no matter what side you're on, when he's right or wrong, we need to call it out, no matter whose team is on. You know.
But the problem is,
kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
I just moved to Vegas, and I just started listening to you guys. So hey, you got to.
Thanks, Jay. Here. Jay, I appreciate that. I just want to say,
great call, Jay.
The umpire that is behind the plate is Donald Trump, and he's not paying attention to the game. I just wanted to add that in there. Jay, thanks for thanks for the call, Jay. We appreciate it.
He has kind of an aggressive strike zone at times, which is fine.
Jay is throwing a lot of people. I was going to say Donald Trump, if he's the umpire, he's throwing a lot of people out of the game. That's for sure. He's not going to instant replay. Yeah, there's no question. There's no question. Donald Trump is a bad umpire.
He tends to make knee-jerk decisions. That's fine.
Yes. I hope he gets hit with a few pitches. That was a low blow. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. You might be saying to yourself, wait a second, I used to listen to those guys 6 to 8 p.m., or you might be saying to yourself, who are these guys? Well, Sharp and Shapiro, the Vegas Take. We give you everything from a Vegas perspective, politics, news, sports, entertainment. We cover it all here. We enjoy doing it. And this is going to be a lot of fun because coming up in our next segment, you might recognize this fella's name. It's Pat Cassell. He has been in the radio business for a very, very long time, and his positions mainly are on the right. You might say, well, Brian's positions are mainly on the left because I attack Donald Trump on a daily basis. You might be a little surprised, though, because I have voted for Republicans also. But I want to get Pat's ideas, first of all, on this Epstein thing, gun violence today. Are we going overboard by saying Donald Trump is partially responsible for white supremacy? Is Donald Trump a white supremacist? We're going to ask Pat that coming up next. And a really interesting story in the NFL. It's controversial because Jay-Z is now involved with the NFL. We'll tell you about that story. We'll tell you what that's all about and who is speaking out against it and how it kind of intertwines a little bit with Colin Kaepernick. We'll get to that and much, much, much more coming up here, and we'll cover any breaking news. Pat Cassell coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take. Be back right after this.